Hello everyone, very good morning and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep. Welcome back to our discussion on international relations. In the last class, we had started with India's immediate neighborhood. We were talking about the South Asia region and specifically about the Himalayan countries, and we had started with India-Nepal relations. We had almost completed this chapter. We were at the end of India-Nepal relations. So first, let's wrap it up. There are a couple of small topics left. And after this topic, after we finish Nepal, we'll proceed to the next Himalayan state, that is Bhutan. These are important topics that we have lined up for today. So under India-Nepal, we need to understand one important connectivity project that India has been pursuing. There are several connectivity projects that we have implemented with Nepal, but this project, known as BBIN, this particular project stands out compared to other connectivity projects that we have executed. India has provided a lot of assistance to Nepal. We have provided financial and technical assistance. We have built many roads, railway lines, bridges, telecommunication infrastructure. But amongst all the projects that we have executed, one project which really stands out is the BBIN corridor. BBIN stands for Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. So these four countries were supposed to be a part of a transport corridor which would allow the free movement of vehicles between these countries. The objective was to promote the free movement of vehicles between these countries, especially commercial vehicles, that is trucks, which carry goods between different countries. This idea was first proposed by India. India had actually proposed this concept at the SAARC, at the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. We actually wanted to implement a motor vehicles agreement across South Asian countries so that we could provide for the free movement of vehicles carrying goods in order to promote trade between the South Asian countries. We wanted this to be implemented at the regional level, including Pakistan and other countries as well. But at the SAARC, Pakistan derailed this Indian initiative. Pakistan did not give support. It even tried to derail this initiative, kept delaying it. So India was frustrated with Pakistan's blocking tactics. So we went ahead and proposed a sub-regional initiative called BBIN. Since we were not able to implement the regional framework at SAARC grouping because of Pakistan's obstructionist role, we instead proposed a sub-regional initiative called BBIN. That is, we proposed a smaller initiative within the South Asia region. So Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal, they were supposed to be a part of this motor vehicles agreement. It's essentially a motor vehicles agreement, which will allow the movement of motor vehicles between their borders. So through this initiative, we were planning to provide port access to Nepal and Bhutan, which are actually landlocked countries, so that they could access the ports of India and Bangladesh. Is that clear? The ports of India and Bangladesh, especially the ports such as Kolkata port, the Paradip port in Odisha, the Chittagong port in Bangladesh, and the Mongla port in Bangladesh. The objective was to connect these important ports with Nepal and Bhutan. So it wasn't an entirely new road project as such. It's not that a new road would be built between these four countries. Existing roads would be interconnected. Is that clear? Existing roads, they would be interconnected. The existing roads would be interconnected, and they would sign a motor vehicles agreement through which the cross-border movement of vehicles could be allowed. That was the whole purpose of this project. Is that clear? Sign a motor vehicles agreement and interconnect the existing roads so that cross-border movement of vehicles could take place. This was the primary purpose of BBIN. We have actively pursued this project since at least 2014, 2015. And today, we are even trying to make it operational. But unfortunately, Bhutan has not been able to join. Bhutan has not joined the initiative. However, India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, these three countries, are proceeding with the BBIN corridor. Is that clear? Initially, Bhutan was very interested. Bhutan's government was very interested. But due to a certain reason, Bhutan could not join the BBIN initiative. I'll not explain the reason right now, because in the next chapter, when we study India-Bhutan relations, there I'm going to discuss why Bhutan did not join the BBIN initiative. For now, just remember that it's a sub-regional motor vehicles agreement to provide for free cross-border movement of vehicles so that the landlocked countries of Nepal and Bhutan could have port access in India and Bangladesh. Bhutan was initially interested, but later it couldn't join the initiative for certain reasons. However, the other countries, India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, they have already signed the motor vehicles agreement and they are looking to implement this cross-border movement of vehicles. This is expected to improve trade between these three countries. Especially Nepal will benefit immensely as it is a landlocked country. It will gain much easier access to the ports in India and also the ports in Bangladesh. It is going to improve the bilateral trade between these three countries. All right. So it's one of the important regional trade initiatives that India has been pursuing, and this transport corridor is being made operational. That is why the BBIN corridor is very important, because we have given it a very high priority since Pakistan blocked our initiative at the SAARC grouping. All right. So this is what you need to know about the BBIN project. For your prelims, note down an important fact. This project is funded by ADB. It's an important prelims fact. The Asian Development Bank, which is a financial institution, is funding this initiative to establish the infrastructure needed and to movement of vehicles. You need certain basic infrastructure. So for that, the funding will come from ADB. Asian Development Bank is backing this initiative. All right. Next, let's talk about the development assistance that India has given to Nepal over the last 7 decades. See, in international relations, the assistance that one country provides to another is technically referred to as development assistance. This is a key word. For example, Japan provides development assistance to India. India provides development assistance to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, etc. This could include loans or even technical assistance. So any such assistance provided, financial assistance, investments that have been made, concessional loans that have been given, and the technical assistance to create projects in another country, it is officially and technically referred to as development assistance. In fact, within the Ministry of External Affairs, there is a separate Office of Development Assistance, which looks after all the funding and projects from India. All the fundings we have provided to other countries, all the projects that we are executing in other countries, they're all monitored and coordinated by the Office of Development Assistance within the Ministry of External Affairs. So towards Nepal, we have provided a lot of assistance over the years across many different sectors. Since Nepal was heavily dependent on India, we have provided a lot of support in the form of concessional loans, financing of projects, and execution of projects. India has been a major investor in the infrastructure sector. As I told you, we have built roads, railway links, bridges, and even telecom and internet infrastructure. This is something India has taken up in Nepal, especially along the border areas towards UP and Bihar. We have created a lot of connectivity infrastructure, which helps connecting the people of Nepal with the people of India. It helps in improving economic relations as well. We have invested in key socio-economic sectors. We have helped in the socio-economic development of Nepal. Since Nepal is a very small and poor country, it does not have much resources, right? It struggles on various development indicators like education, healthcare, rural development, agriculture. In all these key areas, India is a major supporter of Nepal. We have built hospitals, supplied essential medicines and drugs, helped in water management and irrigation projects, built schools as well, assisted in rural development and community development, then even environment protection, disaster management, and helping Nepal mitigate the impact of climate change. Even these are priority areas of assistance. Because Nepal is a Himalayan country, right? Himalayas represent a very delicate, very sensitive ecology. We studied in the last class how Nepal is vulnerable to natural disasters, such as earthquakes, landslides, floods, cloudbursts, etc. So Nepal needs a lot of support from India in disaster management. We provide HADR assistance, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief. The Himalayan ecology is very sensitive, very delicate, so we help Nepal in conserving and protecting its environment and biodiversity. We help the country mitigate the impact of climate change as well, because Nepal being a poor nation, right, it faces very serious challenges due to climate change. The melting of the glaciers, right, the melting of the Himalayan glaciers, the rate has accelerated because of global warming. So Nepal will face the brunt. It will increase more flood-related incidents, more landslides, more extreme weather events. They'll become common for Nepal. So it relies on India to mitigate the impact of disasters and climate change. So India is a major supporter of Nepal in these critical areas. Other than this, we have tried investing in the power sector, in the power infrastructure of Nepal. We have tried building hydropower plants, but this is one area where we have not really succeeded. We spoke about this in the last class. We studied hydropower cooperation separately. I explained what reasons are responsible for the failure that we have seen in Nepal in the hydropower sector. But we have some grand projects that are planned, such as the Pancheshwar multi-purpose project. We have signed a power trading agreement as well. We want to promote the trade of electricity. We want to help Nepal overcome its energy deficit. Right? So those are some important areas of collaboration. When it comes to defense relations, we have very close ties with Nepal's armed forces and security forces. I told you in the last class, Nepal's army has received a lot of support from India, be it training, be it weapons, and even joint exercises. India has always supported Nepal's armed forces. There was a point where we would jointly patrol the borders between Nepal and China. We had joint patrolling. Indian troops would assist Nepali troops to guard the borders with China. This was in 1950s, 1960s. When Nepal went to the civil war against the Maoist insurgents, we supported Nepal's army by providing the weapons, the intelligence, the training that was necessary. So intelligence sharing is another key area of cooperation. It is very crucial to counter terrorism and also to tackle organized crime, which is a major threat along the India-Nepal border. Is that clear? So we do have joint military exercises as well. For example, Surya Kiran is a joint military exercise between the two armies. The Indian Army and the Nepali Army, we conduct a frequent regular exercise called Surya Kiran. We have even provided concessional loans, which are called line of credit. We provide concessional loans, which are referred to as LOC or line of credit. We have provided a line of credit of up to $1 billion, which Nepal can invest in the infrastructure sector. So this is the wide-ranging assistance that India has been providing to Nepal. All right, even recently, in the last 1 year itself, we have announced many projects. We have especially focused on infrastructure and socio-economic development. And of course, we have very close defense and security relations as well. Now, let me explain what is a line of credit. This could possibly be important for your prelims, because we provide line of credit to many countries, to many developing countries and small poor nations. We provide LOC or line of credit, which is a type of a concessional loan. Let's see how a line of credit works. What kind of loan is it? See, in line of credit, the interest rate will be very low. All right, and it also have a flexible repayment schedule. Is that clear? These are important features of line of credit. That's why it's called a concessional loan. One, the interest rate is very low. It's very nominal. And second, the repayment schedule will be very flexible. They'll get a flexible window to repay the loan that they have borrowed from India. But how is it different from a regular loan? It is different because the country which is receiving the line of credit need not withdraw the entire amount. Now, let's say we have announced a line of credit of $1 billion to Nepal. And we have specified that Nepal can use these funds for infrastructure projects. Now, Nepal can decide how much it is going to withdraw from this line of credit that we have extended. Nepal need not withdraw the whole amount. It need not pay the interest and the amount on the whole amount that we have announced. Nepal can withdraw only $200 million if it wants. Later, it can withdraw another $200 million. So on whatever money that the country is drawing, only on that sum, it is going to pay interest. It's bound to repay only that part of the amount, not the whole amount. This is just a standing loan. It's a ready standing loan which is made available. The recipient country can draw how much ever they want. So it does not burden them. It's not that Nepal has to repay the whole $1 billion. We're not giving $1 billion in one shot. It's a ready standing loan facility. So from that facility, Nepal can withdraw how much ever it wants, and whatever has been withdrawn, only on that Nepal will pay interest. Only that amount has to be repaid to India. All right. So that is why line of credit is different. It is different from a regular loan. It's a concessional loan because the interest rates are extremely low. There is a flexible repayment schedule, and the country can withdraw how much ever amount they want. So this is a way of helping smaller countries. We provide line of credit to many countries in Asia, Africa, in South America as well. All right. Now some of you might ask, why are we providing money to other countries? What do we gain? We ourselves have a lot of challenges. We ourselves face a shortage of funds. So why are we going and giving money away to other countries? We are doing charity, right? That is the question many students have. But trust me, this is not charity that we are doing. This is diplomacy. This is business. These loans that we provide, they benefit India in many different ways. It's an investment that we are making. It's not a charity that we are giving away. All right. It is an investment that India is making in select countries. For example, by providing these loans, this financial support, you're actually projecting your soft power. You're gaining goodwill in that country. You're gaining the trust of the government. You're gaining the trust of the people as well. So they will always be thankful for these funds when the projects are successfully executed. The people of the country, the government, they will always be grateful towards India, and it helps India build a positive image in that country. It helps gain that leverage in that country to protect our influence. All right. So this is something you can't quantify with money. The goodwill, the trust you're going to gain is not something you can quantify with money. All right. So this is an investment you make to build your soft power, to assist other countries in such areas where they are struggling. Small countries won't be able to invest heavily in infrastructure, in socio-economic development. So by providing such financial facilities, you're helping them to develop and grow. You're giving them a mutually beneficial opportunity. All right. And more importantly, India can decide in which sector the funds will be spent. All right. We can tell Nepal that this loan is only for infrastructure. This loan is only for building schools and hospitals. So we can work with Nepal and determine where the money will be invested. So again, this is a strategic investment. We can guide the other country to invest in areas that we want. All right. The other country is not investing wherever it wants. We can guide the other country. We can work together, suggest the areas where the money should be invested, which is necessary for Indian influence. And along with this, we can even ask the other country to hand over the project to Indian companies. This can be made a condition that the project will be executed by Indian companies. So that way the money is coming back. All right. Plus you're gaining influence, strategic influence in the other country. So this is something you can't quantify with money. So never ever think that we are doing charity, we are giving away money here. I've seen many students ask that question, right? These are investments that we are making. All right. India has sufficient resources to make such investments in select countries. This is how you gain your goodwill. You build your soft power image. You help the other country genuinely so that it fulfills their interest and our interest as well. We don't believe in one-sided relationships. India has always been clear that our relations will be mutually beneficial. It will benefit the other country as well. It should benefit India as well. So by providing such loans, you're guiding the other country where to invest. You can guide them to invest in areas which is necessary for our influence. Let's say we want to boost trade along the border. We can recommend to the other country that create the necessary infrastructure for promoting border trade. For that specifically, we can announce a loan. Right? We can also suggest that the project should be given to an Indian company. Indian companies are going to execute the project. So that way we'll retain control over the project. We might even operate the project later. Indian companies might run the projects. So that way our presence, our influence becomes permanent in that country. All right. So that is why line of credits are very important. It's an important tool in Indian diplomacy. Understood? So this is something you should know about India's assistance to Nepal. This is the kind of support, extensive support we have given to Nepal. But today we are facing a very stiff competition here. We are facing a very, very serious competition in this domain. And of course, the competition is from China. All right. China has become a major investor in Nepal. Nepal has joined the Belt and Road Initiative of China. Understood? Nepal has already joined the Belt and Road Initiative, and China has promised to build roads, railway lines that's going to connect Tibet with Nepal, stretching all the way till the Indian border. Now, this is something we see as a strategic threat. From Tibet, road and railway lines have been proposed. China and Nepal are already working on these projects as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Our concern is that these Chinese road and railway projects will come very close to the Indian border towards UP and Bihar. So India has a very big concern that if there are tensions, hostilities, a possible war between India and China, then China could quickly mobilize its troops via Nepal right across the Indian border towards UP and Bihar. So this is a genuine strategic concern that we have. Plus China has made a lot of investments in the mobile and internet infrastructure of Nepal. We see this as a cyber security threat. All right. China even has a military exercise with Nepal. It's called Sagarmatha. Please remember the names of important military exercises which are in news. You never know, it could be asked in prelims. So India and Nepal have Surya Kiran, which is an exercise between our armies. Similarly, China and Nepal have a military exercise called the Sagarmatha. All right. Then China has even offered port access to reduce Nepal's dependency on Indian ports. However, this route is not feasible. It's a very long route because goods from Nepal will have to go through the Himalayan belt, the tough terrain of the Himalayas, then reach the eastern seaports of China, which is very far away. The nearest Chinese port is at least 3,500 kilometers from Nepal, whereas Indian ports are hardly 1,000 kilometers away. So any day, India is the only practical option for Nepal to connect with seaports. However, China has tried to replace India. It has tried to offer alternate port access, and its primary purpose is to reduce Nepal's dependency on India. All right. Now, the last point I'm going to make. India is promoting a cultural project, a cultural initiative called the Buddhist Circuit Initiative. This is a very, very important cultural project of India, a soft power initiative of India. It's an example of our soft power diplomacy, or you can also call it India's cultural diplomacy. All right. Through our diplomacy, we are promoting our Buddhist heritage. This is a priority project in India's foreign policy. It's also called Buddhist Diplomacy of India. And this is not just aimed at Nepal. It's not just focused on Nepal. It's actually focused on multiple countries. Through the Buddhist Circuit Initiative, we are essentially creating better tourist infrastructure at various Buddhist pilgrimage sites. Is that clear? Across various Buddhist pilgrimage sites, we are creating better infrastructure, better facilities, especially keeping foreign tourists in mind. Now, what's the purpose? Because see, India is the birthplace of Buddhism, right? Buddhist culture, tradition is associated with India, with the Indian civilization. There are many important Buddhist pilgrimage sites in India, like Sarnath, for example, Kushinagar, Bodh Gaya, right? All these are important cultural sites in Buddhism. And Buddhism is widely popular across multiple Asian countries, be it Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia and Singapore, China, Japan and South Korea. Across these countries in South Asia, Southeast Asia and East Asia, Buddhism is widely popular even today. In fact, Buddhism is a majority religion in many countries like Myanmar and Sri Lanka, right? So our purpose is to attract the tourists, build the cultural relations. We even promote our Buddhist heritage in these target countries, in these Asian countries. We project our Buddhist influence. So this is the Buddhist diplomacy of India. It's a soft power cultural initiative. It's called Buddhist Circuit Initiative. We are creating better infrastructure at these facilities, promoting our Buddhist heritage as well in these countries, so we can attract more tourists and build stronger cultural relations. For example, at Kushinagar in Uttar Pradesh, we have recently built an international airport. Recently, we inaugurated an international airport so that foreign tourists can have easy access to Kushinagar. When the airport was inaugurated, the top leaders, officials from Sri Lanka were invited because Sri Lanka is a Buddhist majority nation, right? So Kushinagar International Airport has been recently built. Like this, tourist facilities and infrastructure is being created at all these pilgrimage sites. So we wanted to extend this project to Nepal. India was very eager to extend this project to Nepal. Why? Because Buddhism is a shared heritage between India and Nepal. There are important pilgrimage sites in Nepal as well, especially Lumbini. Lumbini is the birthplace of Lord Gautam Buddha. Along with Lumbini, there are a few other important pilgrimage sites in Nepal as well. Kapila Vastu, for example. All right. So India wanted to develop these sites as part of our Buddhist Circuit Initiative. But China stepped in and it took over the Lumbini project initially. The birthplace of Lord Buddha was supposed to be redeveloped by India along with Nepal. But China managed to overtake India, and China started executing such cultural projects as well to counter the Indian influence. This is the extent of competition we face from China in Nepal. But recently, even India has been involved in the Lumbini project. We are restoring the Lumbini site. There are many other Hindu pilgrimage sites as well, which India is restoring and rebuilding in Nepal. Along with the Buddhist pilgrimage sites, we are restoring few Hindu pilgrimage sites as well. There are few important temples, sacred temples in Hinduism, and we are trying to rebuild them and connect them with the pilgrimage sites in India. So these are some important cultural initiatives that we have taken now. All right, they're as important as your economic investments, your defense relations, because cultural relations are also very, very important. This is what helps you build the soft power to retain your influence. So China is a major competitor. It has even promoted the Mandarin language in schools, in Nepal schools, where China has funded the schools. It is promoting Mandarin language. So that again shows the cultural influence that China is expanding into Nepal. All right, but India remains the predominant power, but we face a stiff competition from China. Even if you look at our banking system, right, we have very close interconnection with Nepal. I hope you know that in Nepal, the Indian currency, the Indian rupee, is a valid currency. In fact, Nepal's currency is tied with the Indian currency. So Nepal's financial economic well-being is tied to the Indian economy. We have extended the UPI payment system, the RuPay network. So there is a lot of dependency of Nepal on India. But China is a competitor. China is trying to move ahead. It's trying to take up many strategic and critical projects. It's trying to invest in the cultural domain as well. So this is the challenge that we face in Nepal. Now, just to give you an idea about what extent India invests in Nepal, please look at this table that we face in Nepal. So there is a lot of dependency of Nepal on India, but China is a competitor. China is trying. So this is the challenge. This table is from the Economic Survey. It gives you a rough idea as to what kind of assistance we provide to other countries. Every year, the biggest recipient of our development assistance is Bhutan. All right, since many, many years, Bhutan is always the top recipient of assistance from India. It always gets the biggest share of our foreign policy budget. After Bhutan, it is usually Nepal, followed by Seychelles, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Maldives, and Myanmar. Usually, these are the top countries. All assignment. Go through this year's budget. All right, go through this year's Economic Survey. You will find the allocation India has made towards other countries in our foreign policy. Figure out the top 3 countries at least, which are getting the maximum financial assistance from India. First, of course, is Bhutan again. Bhutan has got the majority share this year as well. Identify the other 2 countries, which are the top 3 recipients of development assistance from India. Again, this is a very important fact for your prelims. All right, but usually this is the order. All these small neighbors of India, the poor developing nations, underdeveloped countries, they all get the maximum financial support. We provide direct support to our budget. We provide these concessional loans to our budgetary allocation. Understood? So this completes my discussion on India-Nepal relations. As part of the conclusion, I've included some points which can be suggested by you as a way forward when you're writing an answer on India-Nepal relations. All right. In every chapter, I'll try to include a conclusion. It is all based on what we have discussed. These are basically suggestions to improve India-Nepal relations. What can be done to improve the ties? What can be done to resolve the issues that we have, right? Just a few suggestions from my end, which you can use as a way forward in your answers. You're free to come up with your own suggestions as well. It's always good to think on those lines and frame your own conclusion. There's nothing better than that. What we can do to improve our hydropower investments in Nepal. Think about a solution, how we can compete with China, how we can retain our influence. So if you write them down, keep few points ready. So whenever there is a question on India-Nepal, you can automatically include the relevant points when you end the answer. You can give a way forward, you can give your suggestion, your opinion, and the evaluator would be very impressed if you try to do that. I've even added few expert opinions. Just for example, I've taken the opinions and quotes of few top experts, strategic experts and former diplomats, what they have said about India-Nepal relations. All right. So his stand on India-Nepal relations, you can quote that in your exam. You can top experts, strategic experts like Raja Mohan, Brahmacharani, Harsh Pant. All right, they all work for prominent think tanks in India. They write frequent articles. If you're reading Hindu and Indian Express regularly, I'm sure you would have come across columns written by C. Raja Mohan or Brahmacharani or Harsh Pant. So this is another example, another suggestion from my side. When you're reading the newspapers, if you come across a top expert or from a former diplomat or from a minister, try and make a note of it, and if possible, you can use that in the answer. You can quote the expert and say, this was their suggestion. We should do something on these lines. All right. So that is how you build an answer. That is how you try to end an answer, by providing your suggestions and your opinions. So please go through this. So when you revise the chapter, I expect all of you to go through the conclusion and the way forward. All right. So this completes my discussion on India-Nepal. I hope now the chapter is clear. We have completed all the key topics that were needed under India-Nepal. Now let's take all your questions, whatever doubts you have. Let me clear all of that, and then we'll proceed to the next topic. Aditya is asking, sir, please explain again the concept of electricity